and welcome back to the Reapers. Today we're in our A-4E Skyhawk and we're looking at unguided bombs and cluster munition dispensers. Now there's an awful lot to cover in this one video, so I'm going to talk as fast as I can and be as brief as I can, but try and also be concise. So first of all, we need to look at the weapons involved. We're going to open up here. Now this is a veritable bomb carrying bull. It can carry so many different types of bombs and such a high quantity of bombs. It really is quite amazing. So I'm going to start just on the outer pylons of 1 and 5 and carry bombs on all of these pylons in varying degrees, but we'll just get the basics done first. Bombs. First of all, the AN series of bombs. Now I don't know all of these. They are all relatively old, period correct to the early version of the aircraft. This is before they standardized the bombs into kind of Mark 81, Mark 82, Mark 83, Mark 84. So I'm not going to reel off what these are, but they all appear to be variations of unguided slick bombs with HE and or HE and blast frag warheads. I don't really see much point of using them as we've got the standardized Mark 81s and Mark 82s and stuff. Then there's the Mark 20. This is a cluster bomb. You drop it like a normal slick unguided bomb at a predetermined height above the ground. It splits into separate munitions and these fall and blow stuff up in an area. Mark 77, a incendiary or napalm bomb, I guess period correct to the Vietnam conflict. Then we've got the standardized bombs. We've got the Mark 81, a 250-pound high explosive bomb, unguided slick, and the SE, the snake eye version, which is the same except it's a high drag version, so it falls down very slowly. Mark 82, 500-pound version, and a snake eye version of that. So let's go to the next row of pylons. We've got 2 and 4. These can have, first of all, an AGM-62. Now this is a guided bomb, so we're not going to cover it in this video. We'll do that in a separate video. We've got all of the ANs again. Now notice, because these are inner pylons, they can carry a heavier load, so they can carry racks with multiple bombs on. For instance, you've got an MER rack that can carry 5 of these type of bombs. We've also got the M117, which I think is just a big old style bomb, a 500-pound or 1,000, I can't remember. Blast frag or HE. A TER rack with 2 times Mark 82 Mark 20 rock eyes. A different type of Mark 77 napalm, I don't know what that is, sorry. We can have an MER rack with 5 times Mark 81s. We can have MER rack with 81 snake eyes, 5 of them. TER rack with 2 times Mark 82s, and with a TER with Mark 82 snake eyes, or a Mark 83 1,000 pounder, Mark 84 1,000 pounder. And now we also get the CBU pods. Now these are pretty awesome. They are the equivalent of the GMKU, I think they are, pods, the Russian. They are dispensers. They are pods that stay attached to our aircraft and dispense many hundreds of small bomblets. Right, we've got the CBU-1. This is an anti-personnel bomblet dispenser, and we can have 1 of them or 2 of them per pylon. CBU-2, these are anti-very light armor, trucks, aircraft, stuff like that on the ground. Or we can have 2 of them, and a CBU-2, an improved version, again anti-light, very light armor. We probably won't be able to damage the armor we're fighting today with them, as an example, or 2 of them. And then the center pylon, pylon 3, when we can just have exactly the same stuff but even bigger amounts. So 6 times AN Mark 81, 6 times 88s, 2 times Mark 77 napalms on 1 pylon, 6 times Mark 81s, 6 times Mark 82s, I think we'll probably use that today, 3 times Mark 83s and so on. So you can have a whole load of bombs for not many pylons, so it's really impressive stuff. So as regards to minimum drop distances, I mean, it's going to be different. These AN models, assuming that all of them are slicks and they're not high drag, then 1,000 feet is going to be our minimum drop. M117, 1,000 feet. The rock eyes here, 1,000 feet for the cluster bombs. Mark 77, I don't actually know for napalm. I've never dropped it before. So if you guys can let me know, I don't know. The slick versions of all of the Mark 81, 2, 3 and 4 bombs, 1,000 feet. The snake eyes, pretty much right down as low as you can go there. High drag bombs, so you can drop these level and very low down. And the same with the Mark 82 snake eye. As for the dispensers, then these can be dropped down very low as well, like the snake eyes, like kind of a couple of 100 feet, which should be fine. Now the method of deploying these various weapons is going to be different. So these CBUs, you're going to deploy low and level. All of the slick bombs I would recommend in a dive profile, and all of the high drag bombs, snake eye bombs, I would recommend low and level. And we're going to show that today. We're going to take a series of different bombs and we're going to try and show off all the different methods of bombing. Okay, so let's get armed up. As ever, to arm up, we need our canopy open, our engine off and spooled down. Let's bring up the armament screen. So for the center pylon, we're going to have 6 times Mark 82 snake eyes, For pylons 2 and 4, we're going to have some CBU dispensers. We're going to have the CBU 2Bs. And for pylons 1 and 5, we're going to have a pair of Mark 20 cluster munitions or cluster bombs.
Request rearming. Copy.
Meantime, let's check out the controls we're going to be using. Very simple. That is what we're going to use to hide the control stick. We're going to need to access the armament panel behind the control stick, so we'll need to do that. And to drop the bomb's weapon release, you're going to either press it or press and hold it. So that's me armed up. Now let's talk about how we're going to drop these bombs. So for the center pylon of bombs, that's the 6x Snake Eye Mark 82s. We're going to drop these level and low. And we're going to drop them in a ripple. So that's, I'm going to press and hold the weapon release, and we're going to set it up so that they drop 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 over a long train of targets that we have. Next is the munition dispensers. This is pretty much the same. We're just going to have it so that we fly low and level over the target, and we're going to press and hold the release, and these hundreds literally of bomblets are going to pour out the bottom of the dispenser and drop in a long line of the targets. And then finally the Mark 20s, I'm going to drop these as if I was dropping, for instance, a Mark 82 slick bomb. I'm going to drop it in a dive, and I'm going to release, I'll talk about the profile later, but I'm going to release above 1,000 feet and drop them both at the same time. This way we get to show a lot of the options in the armament panel here, so let's start going through them. First of all is the pylon selector. Here are my 5 pylons, and the first things that we're going to drop are going to be our snake eyes. So we're going to select that pylon by clicking on it, and when it's in the up position, it is then selected. We're going to make sure, just for good practice, that we have our internal gun turned off, so that wants to be to safe. We're going to arm our bombs, and we're going to set them to nose and tail, so in the up position. We're going to have our function selector in all the way to the clockwise right bombs and arm GM. We're going to have our master arm on. Usually you would do this up in the air, but you know, it's just easier to do it down here for the video. Then we get these 3 chaps down here. This one on the left decides how many bombs you want to drop in your ripple. So I'm going to get it set up for the snake eyes. In my ripple, I want to drop 6 bombs. So that's 6 selected there. This one, what interval do you want between each bomb drop? This is measured in milliseconds, 20 milliseconds, 150 milliseconds. You can also times that by 10 with a multiply here. In the down position, that would then be 200 milliseconds. That would be 1,500 milliseconds, 1.5 seconds. Don't want that. I'm just going to have between them a time of about 50 milliseconds, I think should be quite cool. Then we have the drop mode selector. Split into 2. We can have step on the left here, ripple on the right here. Step essentially means that with one press of the bomb release button, you will release some bombs. You can either release a single bomb there, a pair of bombs there, assuming that you've got more than one pylon selected, or a salvo of bombs there all at the same time, and the salvo will depend on how many we've got selected here. So in this configuration, at one press of the button, it would drop 6 bombs, assuming we've got enough pylons selected. Then we've got ripple. Ripple single means that when you press and hold the drop button, then single bombs will drop one after the other until either the weapon release button is no longer held or we run out of bombs to use. Pairs is the same, except we drop in pairs which are equally dispersed among the pylons that are selected. You will need at least 2 pylons selected for this to work, I believe. And salvo, again, press and hold the button and the bombs will drop, and at each drop the amount of bombs dropped will be set here. So in the current selection with this to salvo, if I press and hold the weapon release, it will drop 6 bombs at a time and keep pulsing 6 bombs, then 6 bombs, then 6 bombs, assuming we had enough pylons selected and enough bombs, which in this case we don't really. Now note that this is going to change. I'm currently in version 1.02. According to the manual, it will soon be changing, so I'll tell you what it's going to be changing to. When we have it in single, when it's updated, it will keep dropping bombs until the amount set here has been selected. So in this case 6, it would drop single bombs until 6 are reached. Or if it's set to off, then it would just keep dropping bombs until it drains the pylons dry. Same thing with pairs, except it does it in pairs again. And with the salvo in the update, what we'll see is that 1 bomb is dropped per pylon selected. So if I had 3 pylons selected, it would be 3 bombs at a time. So 1 pod per pylon will drop in each iteration of the ripple until the total amount of bombs had been reached as set here. So for my example, I'm going to go ripple single, and what I'm going to do is press and hold the bomb release until all 6 bombs have dropped off this pylon with a spacing of 50 milliseconds. So that's that explained. Let's get started up and in the air. Okay, so we're airborne now, and we've got some bad guys, a long string of medium armor in front of us there. So, regarding the profile of the drop with a low-level drop, I'll show here the low-level bombing ballistics table from the flight manual. The one we're interested in is the Mark 82 Snake Eyes. This tells us that we have to be travelling at or around 400 knots at AGL 400 feet with a gun sight depression of 166 millimeters, and it's a level approach. So let's get that set up. We've got the gun sight here. We're going to click on it and drag it down until we get to 166. What is it? It's about there. We'll have to kind of peek over the sight like that. Everything else is set up from before, so I'm going to go round now and go for a bomb run. For our altitude, we're not going to use our barometric altimeter. We'll use our radar altimeter here. For the speed, we've got the IAS in knots shown there. Okay, I think we've got enough distance. We're going to turn in now, try and get some speed up. We may struggle to get the 400 knots because we're just so heavily loaded, but we'll do the best we can. Target off our nose, so let's get down to 400 feet. Speed, we've just about attained 400 knots, which is actually quite impressive for this load. Altitude 700. When we've got the target sighted in the gun pipper, we are going to press and hold the weapon release. 600 feet. .500 feet, and we've got the radar warning coming on. That's good. 400 feet. On altitude, on speed, everything's pretty good. Just got to try and hit the bloody things now. And wait for it, and push and hold. Woo! Okay, that was pretty cool. My only complaint about that is the bombs weren't really spread enough. I think as the 50 milliseconds was a bit too small for that ripple. Maybe 150 milliseconds would have spread that bomb ripple out over the whole convoy, but I guess that's the only kind of thing you can learn from trial and error. Next, we're going to do our dispensers. So that's going to be pylons 2 and 4. So that's deselect pylon 3, select pylon 2 and 4. Now, as for the drop options, we're going to turn AWRS to off. Drop interval we're going to put right down to 20, and the multiple we'll leave it as 1. And I'm going to go to ripple pairs. So pairs off and off. Careful not to run into a hill. And regarding the profile of the drop, because these are not high drag bomblets, they're essentially low drag bomblets, I'm going to treat them as if they were a slick bomb. So if we bring our chart back up, I'm going to use the level dropping table for Mark 82s. I imagine they'll be pretty similar, probably not exactly the same, but pretty similar. And I don't have any tables to drop these bomblets. So we're going to go for 141 on the gun sight, 400 knots, 500 feet level again. So let's get that depression set up. About there. Otherwise, we're going to go in the same. Just need to build our speed back up again. Okay, I think that's enough. We're going to turn in now. Make sure that we come in nice and level. So our radar altimeter is not going to be accurate at the moment because we've got some undulating terrain. So we'll just have to do the altitude by eye for the time being. Whoops, over speeding. So let's come off the gas a little and retrim. On speed. That's our radar warning. Seems to be about 400 feet. And drop. Boomy. Pretty awesome, right? Well, it didn't actually have much effect. You see how they scattered quite a lot. I don't think I actually destroyed anything there. I'm not sure I can actually destroy armor that thick with these bomblets. But that shows how we can aim it at least and send it down the length of a convoy. And if I go to the outside view, you can see that the pods are still equipped to the vehicle. Now, I think when all of the cluster munitions have left those pods, I think they then jettison themselves. I'm not 100% sure about that, though. And although I dropped quite a lot of munitions there, I don't think I dropped 160, which is what's contained in both of those pods together. But that'll do for now. Next, we're going to go on to our cluster bombs. So with these Mark 20 cluster bombs, I'm going to drop them from a dive as if I was dropping slick Mark 82s. Now, before I show you the profile that I've adopted, I'll show you these are the only ballistics tables that I've managed to find copied out of the manual. So I'll show them quickly now, and then you can screenshot them if you want to and have a look at them. My chosen profile is to climb to 6,000 feet, at least 6,000 feet, dive, and get to a speed of 450 knots IAS. I'm going to dive in a 15-degree dive, and to tell me what angle my dive is, if I bring up an enlarged ADI picture here, you can see that we can tell by these marks 10 and 20, so 15 is going to be in the middle there. And I'm going to release my bombs at as near as I can get to 2,000 feet AGL, and we'll use the radar altitude again for that. And we're going to have a depression, a gunsight depression of 80 mil, as that just seems to work best for me. So let's get set up and go for a run. So we've got 80 there. We're going to choose our pylons 1 and 2. Now, instead of dropping these in a ripple, we're going to drop them both together. So we're going to drop them in a step here. So I'm going to click pairs there. I'm going to go 2 there. Master arm on, bombs arm GM. Everything else is basically staying the same. So let's climb up at altitude and go in for a run. One of the reasons I like this profile is because dropping at 2,000 feet is relatively safe. We're not having to get too close to any potential AAA or whatnot. Okay, we're at altitude now. We're slightly above, but it doesn't really matter. So because we're going to achieve a 15-degree dive, we're going to have to get a little bit closer to the target before we dive. 8,000 feet now. It's a bit extreme, but it's still okay. Just over 400 knots, so we can come down on the gas a bit. We'll have to come off the gas when we're in the dive. Sorry, it's 450 we're meant to be. 450, my bad. Okay, we're pretty much on speed now. We're just going to wait a little more before we dive. And I think we can start diving now. So we're going to look at our ADI and try and get our 15 degrees of descent. Careful not to overspeed, so I'm coming off the gas now. Waiting for our 15 degrees. Now we're looking for our radar altimeter. Wait for 2,000 feet. Try not to cock up the aiming. And 2,000. Drop. Whee! Let's see how they do. Boom. Well, I hit pretty much where I targeted them to hit. What I probably should have done is shot a few vehicles in front of that to spread them over those vehicles, but you get the idea. So to summarise, that was showing rippling snake eyes in a level low altitude run, then rippling CBU-2 munition dispensers in a low level run, and then using a dive bomb attack with Mark 20 cluster bombs, which could easily have just been normal slick bombs, and how to do all the settings and stuff like that. I hope that helps, and see you later.